So this is a Superclub model, and I'll show you how we adapt it for different age children. So first of all, you're likely to have a newborn. So we have this rear-facing baby cradle called the Multimac, and this can fit into any of the 3 seat berths within the Superclub. So take out the seat cushion of the berth you want to use, and then you can just tuck these harnesses away behind the squabs here. Tuck the buckle under there. So this tongue just goes into the slot at the back of the frame there, and then there's a lock underneath the Multimac which just locks down onto this pin at the front of the frame. When the baby gets to about 18 months or so, you'll move them forwards facing into the 5-point harness with one of these Ilva headrests, which is the equivalent of a Group 1 seat. So the harness is instantly adjustable, so you can actually move it right down so it's just above their shoulders. If you see here, there are 7 different height slots, and it works like a lock and key mechanism. So it just twists into place. So you always want the harness just above their shoulders, and the headrest, so the bottom of the headrest is again just above their shoulders. So as they grow, it's just a case of moving the harness and the headrest to accommodate. Now once they get to about 6 or so, maybe younger depending on their height, you'll find that there's a big gap here between the headrest and the top of the seat. So they've then lost their rear impact support. So we've got what's called a back pad, which very simply just closes up the gap. So that clips onto the stalks, and then it means they can continue using this headrest up until they're about 12 or so. Once they get to 12, as your oldest will outgrow the harness before the younger 2, we've got an extra which is called a plug-in buckle, which you can order when you order the Multimac, and it just lies dormant underneath the seat like so, and it can just be pulled out. So your oldest can use the seatbelt from the car with the buckle while still sat in the Multimac, so the whole seat does not become redundant. For a smaller adult, it would also work, and we'd recommend using the Tommy headrest, which again just clips into the sockets. So this has actually been crash tested on an adult test rig, so it's perfectly safe, and to be honest, it's quite comfortable actually. So in a car with a lot of headroom, you'd be absolutely fine taking an adult. Now everything can be retrofitted on the Multimac, but we normally recommend you go for 3 of the Ilva headrests, as well as obviously the Multimac for a newborn, possibly a couple of back pads, depending on how old your oldest 2 are, a plug-in buckle, which again just hides underneath the seat cushion, and then if you are going to be taking anybody over 12, a Tommy headrest as well. Now you can take the Multimac out of the car to take a sleeping baby from the car to the house. It is quite weighty, as it's made of aluminium, so you probably wouldn't want to carry it around a shopping centre. Once the baby gets to about 18 months and outgrows the Multimac, it's just a case of removing it and popping the seat cushion back in its place, which is as simple as this. And then obviously you'd move the harness right down, so it's at one of the lower levels, so it's just above their shoulders, and the headrest is protecting their heads. Now the way the Multimac is held into the car is with 2 tether straps which are mounted to the existing seatbelt mounting points underneath the back seat. So that fitting would normally be done by one of our fitting agents or a local garage, or if you are particularly handy, you could possibly do it yourself. Now once the tether straps are fitted, you can take the Multimac in or out the car yourself pretty easily. So it's just a case of lifting out the centre seat cushion, where you'll find the tether straps coming through these ratchet adjusters here. So we simply release these, so push that handle all the way back so it clicks. There we go. And then the whole thing becomes loose. So you'd remove the leg. Imagine we've slid it out the car. It is a 2-person job because it is pretty heavy. But then behind the seat, what we've got here is 2 tether straps and the original seat belts that are left. So if you did want to take 3 adults, your back seat is as it was before, just with these tether straps lying across the back seat. So putting it back in is simply a reverse of taking it out. So get the Multimac in place, make sure it's central to the back seat. And then these tether straps just come through these ratchets, so get it through the hole in the spindle here. Tighten it up slightly and then put the legs in place. So the legs just should come straight down to the floor, and you should push the back as far as you can. And then continue to tighten it up. So tighten them as much as you possibly can, and the most important thing is to make sure these legs are solid, they're not moving, and they are clamped down to the floor of the car, and there's no movement in them at all. And then it's simply a case of popping the seat cushion back in place. Like so, and just make sure the seat is central to the back seat and it feels totally solid and the legs are very stable.